Yes, okay. Pushing forward to capture Fort Gallabat. Okay, we've got infantry. These guys, of course, are called recon assault squads, so maybe it would have made sense to lead with them. They're running forward. They've got a little bit of a ways to go. I think about when they reach those positions, I will be wanting these guys to move up. To about that area of scattered trees. Now, that is 124 meters. Actually, we haven't encountered significant resistance so far, so might as well run. Then if you don't get stopped, we'll have the rest of the platoon take up positions in these scattered woods in the next turn. We'll have him move up later. Okay, I think we are ready for the next turn. We are starting to encounter more infantry. Quite a significant amount of infantry. And we did see a mortar plunging down from back here. Actually, hang on. One of these hotkeys is for flipping the camera view 180 degrees around. Right. Okay. That's probably what I want to use for that rather than this slow turn here. Oh, I lost a tank. Okay, but okay, that mortar is... So, they have some anti-tank weapons that are hitting my vehicles. Let's see what happened there. Some kind of anti-tank weapon. Upper front hole penetration, no damage. I'm gonna get hit again and knocked out. By what? What is it? Do we have any sightings on an anti-tank weapon? Okay, hit by an as-yet unspotted anti-tank weapon of some kind. Oh right, I think I had meant... So I did just hear a gun going off around here somewhere. But I think I had meant to give these guys a delay so that they would start running after these guys had reached these positions, but forgot. Okay, so we heard a gun of some sort, proving that this is a dangerous environment for my tanks. One response to that would be to have all my tanks take shelter, which would certainly be a good way of reducing losses to my tanks. The briefing does emphasize reducing losses to my tanks, but of course that would also make them useless. So I think for now what I actually want to do is continue to mass them forward, share the risk along with my infantry, who are also facing weapons that are capable of taking them out. Because regardless of what the briefing says, I'm really more concerned with personnel losses than equipment losses. If I have to lose more equipment in exchange for losing fewer people, that's a good trade, in my opinion. So rather than hiding my tanks away, I'll continue to have them mass forward. Maybe if I can get a rough guess of where that anti-tank weapon is and get some artillery going on it, but the more I mass my tanks, the better their chance of spotting the enemy anti-tank weapon and getting enough firepower on it to take it out. I've had a fair amount of movement this time. Things are firing away at the enemy. Again, if it's self-propelled, has enough armor to withstand small arms fire, and has at least a machine gun, it doesn't make any sense to me to call it worthless. So these Vickers light tanks, I definitely wouldn't consider them to be the best tanks available in this period, but they are not useless. Okay. That's probably enough watching the same turn over and over again. Hang on, can I zero in on where that anti-tank weapon is? I know I heard a gun firing. Some kind of heavy caliber gun firing. Is it over on this side of the fort? Which side? Okay, yeah, I hear it, I just can't see it. Can't narrow down where it is. Two of my tanks have been hit, one knocked out. So the one that was hit over here, is it suffering serious damage? And when was it that it was, turret penetration, no serious damage. The gun is located, if it is just one gun, or maybe more, somewhere where it can see this tank, which I think eliminates most of this side of the fort as a possibility. If it was, say, located around here, would it be able to see the tank on this side that was knocked out? Which tank was that? Was... Oh yeah, okay, it was that one. Maybe? Because if not, that means we're dealing with more than one anti-tank gun. Which, you know, wouldn't be surprising. Okay. Officer is still in action. But I haven't given an order to my FO yet. And I am guessing there is an artillery gun, or an anti-tank gun around here somewhere. How wide of an area will this cover? Well, we'll go with there. Oh, 6 minutes. It takes 6 minutes to get the artillery falling. That may be more time than I, strictly speaking, would like. To spend there. One thing, if I'm not gonna hide away my tanks, the one thing I definitely don't want to do is piecemeal them. Don't want to let the enemy just take them out one at a time, where my tanks might have stood a chance if I had massed them. I want to be careful, of course. I don't want to get my tanks too close to that fort, because the briefing did warn of anti-tank mines. Bailing out. This fire started. Probably from someone shooting at this machine gun. And if I recall correctly, fires in CM1, unlike in CM2, are not just cosmetic. So maybe I should have you move. Can I have you rotate once you reach that waypoint? Yeah, okay. And then orient that way. Right, and you made it over there without suffering prohibitive casualties. You are tired. maybe have some of the rest of you move a little bit slower. That the get them closer to where I expect them to be most useful when I actually do want to start pushing them forward. And for these, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do, these brain carriers, a little bit of a risky move since we do know that this area is in the line of sight of an anti-tank weapon. But hopefully it will be busy with the tanks and maybe a little bit suppressed by fire, and these shouldn't spend too much time in that area. What I want to do, get them set up behind these trees here. That's a decent bit of cover behind which to dismount their infantry. I need to get them in a little deeper. So here, this spot is a little exposed. Okay, so that friend carrier will get about as deep in there as I can get it. No. You kind of scrunch up with your buddy there. There. Timings. Dismount. And take up positions in the woods. Taking a bit of a gamble here that CM1 dismounting works more or less like CM2 dismounting, because I haven't actually taken any separate pains to research CM1 mechanics, which I probably should do. But working off of memory of the last time I played, and basic familiarity with combat missionisms, and what can be reasonably guessed at. Yeah, hopefully they don't disembark until their carriers have finished all of their move orders. Because if they disembark right at the start of the turn, before the carriers start moving, that'll be a bit awkward. I mean, they'll get there, but they'll be really tired when they do. But I guess I'll find out, and apply that knowledge in future scenarios. Okay, these guys are 2-inch mortars. Oh, and this guy is kind of acting as sort of combined spotter for them, I think. I might perhaps... I know there's a thread somewhere on the forums that explains how spotting for on-map assets works in CM1, and I'll have to dig that back up. I think we'll have you fire in that block there. In any case, you haven't spotted anything to shoot. Oh, what's going on with the sound? One moment. Okay, not quite sure what was going on with the sound there. I guess that one moment should have seemed pretty seamless if I got the pause recording key bindings right. Anywho, seems to be running smoothly now. But I think what I was in the middle of was figuring out, like, you haven't started shooting, which may just mean you haven't, spotted any targets yet, but it could also mean you aren't in an ideal position. Move you forward a little bit. And again, from there, rotate, orient towards the enemy. I should have done the artillery pre-planned, even though I wouldn't have been able to redirect it later. Six minutes isn't too far off of how long it would take in CM2. Okay, am I missing any orders that I want to give this turn that I'll regret not having given once I get the next turn moving? Yeah, so Bren might as well have that move up. Anything that could potentially contribute firepower is something that we want forward and ready to contribute. Right, these are those... Okay, yeah, that's the hill position there. I'm not really sure what I can do with those trucks. Other than, you know, maybe if I decide at some point that these hilltop positions aren't ideal, I can use them to drag away the guns. To which end, you know, maybe we'll have one each behind the crest of a hill, ready to help in evacuating a gun. That hill doesn't have a name. Or actually, this one doesn't have a name either. The only named hill here is Signal Hill. Okay, those timings should work out. I think we are ready for the next turn. What was that? I think that might have just been my gun doing its work. Oh yeah. Let's start. You don't get many on-map howitzers like this in CM2. I mean, you do get a few. I think you even get to take out a battery of 150mm guns, 150mm German howitzers in the Utah Beach battle pack for Battle for Normandy. But that's a bit of an exception. Of course, then again, this might be a bit of an exception for CM1. I haven't really played enough of it yet to know how common these on-map artillery pieces are. In any case, of course, they're not firing in an indirect role when they're on-map like this. Alright, how are things working out here? Critically, of course, am I being punished for my decision to not hide away my tanks? Like, if I've lost 2 or 3 tanks this turn, then that would establish the fault in my thinking there. But if my tanks have managed to mass enough firepower to not get knocked out in droves. Okay, so that is a machine gun. Right, so far we've seen one tank get hit but not knocked out. It was internal armor flaking. Okay, so my tanks so far are not getting knocked out in droves, so for now at least, I don't seem to be getting punished for not hiding my tanks away. And because, of course, CM1 has that orders delay system, getting the timings right for getting these mechanized infantry to get going. Okay, there's a ricochet with some spalling, or internal armor flaking, as this UI calls it. Okay, that one's starting to get moving. Okay, so they've kind of got a slow rotation to get oriented on the first movement waypoint. So the CM2 approach of not forcing your vehicles to do too tight a turn between waypoints can probably be extrapolated as a general combat missionism, not just a CM2ism. So whether or not you want to pick your poison between more waypoints means a longer orders delay in CM1 versus fewer waypoints means sharper turns between waypoints, I'll need to figure out how to strike the balance between that in CM1. Okay, but yes, what else happened here? We're continuing to spot more infantry. We do not appear... Oh, okay, that's the bunker crew. There. What's that? Infantry contact, probably. Or infantry. So we're spotting infantry. We're not spotting anti-tank weapons. Oh, right, and of course, the gun up on the middle hill, it doesn't have a name, so we'll just call that the middle hill, since it's, of these three hills, the one that's in the middle. But it's not the only one, it is the one on Signal Hill. No, the gun on Signal Hill hasn't spotted anything to shoot at yet. I may have to give it a target of my own, if I can figure out where a decent, juicy target might be for it. Oop. And that, I believe, was... So some machine gun somewhere. Ah, okay. That was this machine gun. Of course, the way I should be using these Vickers, part of the point of them, you know, continuing to have this big, heavy, water-cooled machine gun as late as 1940 is pretty much unrivaled as far as sustained fire, so I should be... The role they're meant for is pretty much just keep on continuously shooting to suppress an enemy position somewhere, possibly for minutes and minutes on end, to help shoot my forces onto an enemy position. I don't use these Vickers in their intended role. Okay, so they haven't taken casualties yet, but these guys were forced to take cover. And you aren't seeing anything to shoot at. Yeah, it really does seem like my tanks have gotten away without much damage this turn. Let's see, okay. We get a fair amount of movement. And my forces make some forward progress. We hear a lot of shooting. That machine gun position is taking a lot of fire. Okay, it does look like the gun on Signal Hill is doing some shooting. Oh, no, okay. That tank is doing some shooting, that's what I was seeing. Let's see, we start with 32 HE rounds, and end with 32 HE rounds. Okay, so that gun hasn't fired a shot. You are firing AP rounds, because that's all you have. So something shot at him and missed. Probably do want to continue moving forward, at least up to a point. Alright, can I figure... Wait, hang on, is that... That was a round that plunged down. That was a mortar. A mortar is shooting at my tank. Okay, that's less concerning. I should still probably move this tank, though. How far do I want to risk moving it forward? I can probably move it forward to where the infantry currently are. Because the infantry evidently have not found any anti-tank mines yet. So maybe a reasonable guess that there are no anti-tank mines there. Okay, they took some fire, were wisely taking cover, but did not take any casualties. So that's good. I don't think I have taken any casualties yet. That's a lot harder. The user interface doesn't highlight casualties because there are no bodies left on the ground. And there's no floating red crosses. Okay, you're tiring. You want to keep an eye on fatigue. I want to be... I think I've gotten a little bit better at that over the years, but... You haven't moved. Wait, hang on. Okay. You are part of 3rd Platoon. Why didn't I move you forward with 3rd Platoon? Anyways. Vents over here. Did I miss anything important? Not really. Oh. Alright, so you're firing... Well, you have a submachine gun and a rifle, so... But the animation shows you firing with a Webley. I guess you have one of those too. But it seems that just giving an HQ a target command is not the way Okay, yeah, like between this video and the next one, I am gonna have to figure out where that thread is on the forums that describes, because someone does give a very nice detailed explanation of how spotting works, artillery spotting works in CM1. Cancel your target. A target next command or something like it is something that I think would be handy to have. Like CM2 or CM3. Of course, they're done adding features to CM2. The way forward for CM3 is the way forward for features is CM3. It'd be nice if we could get something, maybe not necessarily exactly target next, but something that provides the ability to fire at one target, and then, when you're done firing at that target, fire at this one next. However exactly that's implemented, I would like that capability. Oh, right, okay, so we want to keep your platoon together, so, and have you run forward. The good thing then is these guys have not dismounted their vehicles early. They should get dismounted next turn. So Pioneers, I don't necessarily want to move them forward yet. Okay. So I want to move you forward. I get this whole platoon together again, more or less. You forward into the scattered trees. Get the rest of this platoon up. Well, hang on. So you haven't taken any casualties yet, but you were getting shot at. More armored vehicles forward. And yes, I'm aware Bren carriers aren't tanks, but they have armor, tracks, and a machine gun, and that's good enough for me. Really, I'm just trying to get as many things with, as many self-propelled things with armor and a weapon of some kind forward as I possibly can. To which end, you actually move forward into those scattered trees. That makes room for you to move forward a little bit. You move forward, making room for... Yeah, you go ahead and get up there. You're in a bit of a bottleneck. Oh, but of course, I want to always remember, of course, that at some point around here, an anti-tank minefield is going to start. So I want to push my tanks as far forward as I can without pushing them too far forward. Oh, right, and I did decide that I probably do want to move this one. at least a little ways forward. Will that ruin his ability to shoot at that mortar? Maybe. Probably don't want to leave him, or just leave him in line of sight of that mortar. Okay, so these guys... I'm actually going to have them run over here, and then what I actually want them to do is move forward into this cover up here, and we can start applying pressure to this area from more directions. Of course, I don't want to push in too quickly because I have called in that artillery barrage, which isn't even going to start falling for another 5 minutes. Of course, then again, if I find that I can push in here before that artillery barrage starts falling, maybe what that means is I want to cancel the artillery barrage. We'll see. Okay, I don't think there's a huge amount I necessarily need to do this turn. Actually, let's start from a nice, big, wide, big picture view. Well, there isn't really a huge amount we can see from there. But did I just see something? Oh. Okay, so something is hitting front lower hull hit, ricochet, internal armor flaking. So obviously it is an anti-armor weapon of some sort, because otherwise it wouldn't even be able to do that much. But to put that in perspective, it somehow ricocheted off of a tank that only has at most 14 millimeters of armor. The lower hull is at a 41-degree angle, though. So this is not a heavily armored vehicle. So if it managed to ricochet off of this thing, this is not a big anti-tank weapon. Right, and I have like Italian 47mm anti-tank guns. I have managed to penetrate at least the side armor of Panzer IVs, and actually even the front armor I could get partial penetrations on at very close ranges. So even so just because it's an early war anti-tank gun does not necessarily mean it shouldn't be able to go clean through 14 millimeters of armor. So what do the Italians have, potentially, that is less powerful than their 47mm anti-tank gun? Did we just spot something? We're converging a lot of fire. Up a little bit. We think there is a mortar. Ah, there it is. Okay, just hidden. That is getting shot at by a lot of things. I think Victor's light tank is quite fast. At least when it's not moving over the rocks. Okay, friend carriers. Maybe move that. Front turret penetration. No serious damage, though. Oh, yes, okay. There's recon squads. Friend carriers are not moving terribly quickly over this ground. It is fairly rocky. Oh, bugger. Okay. Okay, that's a second tank knocked out. Now, I do only have... How many of these do I have? I have... 1, 2, 3, 4... 10 tanks. Which means the 2 that have been knocked out so far represents a loss rate of 20%. So, maybe I do need to be a little bit more careful. Have I got any notion of what is actually knocking them out? Can I figure out where that is coming from? That one casualty might have been the commander that let his head out. I have become a bit more willing to have my commanders' heads out over the years. Front turret penetration. Oh, and that inflicted a second casualty in the process. Where could it be coming from? Having these guys run does tire them out pretty quickly, so I do want to do a minimum amount of running. Any other noteworthy events? Okay. Oh yeah, I already noted that earlier. This guy's been working out. Carrying a whole Vickers machine gun with its tripod. I should look up how heavy that is. I seem to recall that's pretty heavy. Okay, mostly relatively few casualties. Yeah, I think, these are my first casualties. Despite losing a tank earlier here, I didn't lose any of the crew when that tank was knocked out. Oh yeah, okay, but, oh, what's this over here? Did I completely... Who are these guys? This is... I completely missed a company. I thought it accounted for everyone. Okay, well, that's a little frustrating. I've gone a whole, 5 minutes. This whole extra company over here. Hang on, but the briefing, I thought, said... I can't get to the briefing right now. Okay. Briefing... thought it said I had... yeah, 2 rifle companies, I accounted for them. Motor rifle platoon, I accounted for them. Engineer platoon, I accounted for them. Yeah, I thought I accounted for everyone. Reinforcements Battle 3, another rifle company. This looks like a 3rd rifle company. So how did I miss them? Was I just not paying attention? Okay. Well, let's get you guys into the fight. Right, I think the thing to do... Okay, I guess when I'm giving mass orders like that, I can only set one waypoint. That's all right. Start moving them closer to the fight. And I guess, the typical battalion attack method in these days, or attack formation, is 2 companies up, 1 back in reserve. So, if I think of this as my reserve company, maybe it's not so much of a loss that they've been idle for the first 5 minutes. I was kind of thinking of the sort of mishmash of various other types of platoons. This engineer platoon, the recon platoon, and the... I keep wanting to say motor rifle platoon because I've been dealing with the Soviets too much. Mechanized infantry, or armored infantry in this time, platoon as sort of my reserve company. But I guess what that means, if I think of those miscellaneous other platoons as basically making a 3rd company, that means I have a 4th company on the map. Shit, did I just miss them? They were on the map this whole time, but I was, like, just focused on this middle portion of it. No, because I noticed the artillery over here. Was there a reinforcements pop-up here that I just completely just blanked out on? Like maybe it came up, I clicked OK, and then just so used to telling dialogue boxes to go away that I didn't even notice it. Anywho, is there anything else, or do I just kind of want to continue with the status quo? Everyone already kind of has orders that they're carrying out, or are already in fairly forward positions. How far do these guys have to go? Let's say if I want to get them up to here. So I think if a walking pace is 50 meters per turn, that is 10 turns away from reaching the edge of that position there. A walking pace might be closer to 75 meters per turn. That's somewhere in there, 50 to 75 meters per turn. Oh, but you know what? Oh, okay, that's already knocked out. Armor angling is a good idea in this time period. Like in the modern day, it doesn't really make much sense to angle your armor because your frontal armor is so much stronger than your side armor. Any advantage you gain by angling your frontal armor is lost by exposing more of your side armor, but in this time period, the difference in the strength between your front and side armor is low enough that you actually do gain some protective advantage by angling your armor a little bit. So let's actually do that, and that might help reduce my losses from that anti-tank weapon. And it does require making some guesses about where that anti-tank weapon is, because that affects, you know, which direction am I angled to. I suspect it's over here somewhere, which is, of course, you know, why I'm dropping the artillery over on that side of the fort. Artillery, which is due in 4 minutes. Okay, let's just go ahead and run the next turn. If I get any bright ideas for how I want to start moving my troops. You know, maybe I should have given these guys orders to move forward, to start walking this way. Infantry sounds, more infantry sounds. What I want is to identify a gun of some sort. A turret penetration. Where is it? If I lose another tank, I really am just gonna have to, you know, reverse them behind. God damn it. Wait, isn't this the one that was already knocked out? Okay. We're getting hit more. means we are in its line of sight. I may actually have to reverse them behind clumps of trees that can give them adequate cover. Okay, that's a line of trench there. There's infantry there. We know there's a mortar there. Now the Italian heavy machine guns aren't really heavy enough to pose much of a threat to armor. They're 8mm, where, like, if they were like in the 12 to 13mm or upwards from that, then that would be a serious threat to armor. But I wonder, if we're not spotting an anti-tank gun, could it be an anti-tank rifle? Say one of those, I think the Italians have a 20mm anti-tank rifle. I think Forgotten Weapons may have done an episode on it. If they didn't have an anti-tank rifle, they would have been one of the only powers in this period that didn't. Do the French have an anti-tank rifle? Now they had that small 25mm, or two small 25mm anti-tank guns. And a 47mm anti-tank gun. But come to think of it, I can't actually think of an anti-tank rifle that they had, because their doctrine didn't really envision the infantry not being within range of their supporting weapons anyway, so maybe they just didn't see a need for one. Or maybe they did have one and I just can't think of it. Did I not give you orders to move forward? I know not. The armored vehicles are making themselves useful. They are shooting at things. So if I retreat them back, that does reduce the amount of firepower I have. So if I am unwilling to reverse that, there you go, maybe there's a blue icon somewhere. They spotted anti-tank weapons now. Okay. And you, around when we got that hit notification, don't have a target line indicating that you know where you're getting shot at from. Side turret hit. Wait. Front turret penetration. So we saw something, we saw a projectile there. It's a pity you can't do any kind of frame by frame. Okay, we just see it ricochet up after. Well, it couldn't have been hit from that side. That's completely swarming with my forces. Could it be from that side? Maybe an anti-tank weapon, a 47mm gun perhaps, over in one of these clumps of trees perhaps? That might explain, that's a decent distance away, maybe enough distance for a 47mm anti-tank gun, or for a 47mm armor-piercing round to lose enough energy to struggle a bit with a ricochet from the side of the turret. 12 millimeters of armor. How much distance would we need for a 47 millimeter Italian anti-tank armor-piercing round to struggle with 12 millimeters of armor? Maybe? Now, this whole map is less than 2 kilometers, I think. So that distance is... well, it's got to be less than a kilometer, I think, because that is less than half the width of the length of the map. And if it is something over there, it can't be further to the right than here. Because it would be obscured by the ground if it's any further to the right. So maybe something over here. Does that... could something over there be the same gun that hit this vehicle? You know, that theory works. For this vehicle, does it work for this tank? Maybe. Depends how hard a time it has looking through those trees there, and that sound did not look... that did not sound good. Possible. Possible. Okay, the sound is worrying me there. Maybe. That might explain why I'm starting to take more hits if I have sort of advanced into the line of sight of something positioned over here. So that said it hit the front turret. Not sure that entirely works. Of course, then again, we could be under fire from multiple guns. It would make sense for them to have more than one anti-tank gun. Of course, pulling my tanks back would significantly reduce, for example, the number of things that are shooting at that machine gun. Okay. Well, I mean, not sure if these could really provide any useful concealment, but give it a shot. This tank might be reasonably safe where it is, if that is where the anti-tank weapon is. Would mean I probably don't want to advance this one any further. You actually have a good line of fire from there. Oh, and completely missed. Watching those guys dismount. Anywho, you guys. You moving forward. Back. Maybe an anti-tank gun over there. Do I perhaps want to shift the artillery? I also, of course, don't want the artillery to get in the way of me making an assault on that spot if I am in position to do it sooner rather than later. I think it's going to take a few minutes for me to be in position. Oh, of course, this is only a 30-minute battle, so I don't want to take too long about it. "30-minute battle, but the first of 3 battles. If they're all 30 minutes, that means I have 90 minutes in reality to get as far as the landing strip. We'll see. I'll push forward, make as much progress as I can. Should be, if I'm right about where that anti-tank gun is, this might be a slightly less vulnerable position than where it is right now, where that tank is right now. Bren carrier maybe wants to move forward a little bit. Yeah, and you have stopped moving. I want you to continue moving forward. You to move forward. You to move forward. Gonna have to for some open ground eventually anyway. If we do a nice steady advance to contact, I've got a lot of firepower covering them. It's likely to be as safe as it's ever going to get. Maybe I want to advance over the rough ground. I have the infantry advance to the rough ground. That should provide better cover. And fewer obstacles to move through. Oh, these are the pioneers. Wait a minute. That's not Pioneer. Okay, that one's Pioneers. This one is Rifle Squad. Or Section. Section. These are the British. Commonwealth forces use the term section, which can get a little bit confusing because in American parlance, a section is a unit that is smaller than a platoon but larger than a squad. So they also have the term, but it's not an it's not an interchangeable term with squad. But one of the things when you're dealing with multiple armies and multiple time periods is you need to be flexible with terminology. Okay, so I can't... What I want to do is not fire on a specific spot, but sort of target a length of tree line along which I think the gun might be positioned. Like, I think it might be somewhere around here, but I don't know where exactly it is, so I want to target the entire length of the area where I think it might be. Of course, the positions where I think it's most likely to be are blocked from line of sight there. What about the gun on Signal Hill? Hasn't been shooting at anything lately. It still has a full complement of 32 rounds. Let's target roughly the middle. Oh, and there's my timer telling me that this video is long enough. So, I will stop it here, and we will see the results of the next turn when I pick up later.